we felt that something was going wrong. We immediately approached the ship. We were shocked by what we saw. Such a thing was impossible. According to the theory, everything started with Albert Einstein's crazy ideas. Einstein was working on the unified field theory, and one version of this field theory described that with a large electric generator and an energy flow fixed at certain angles, it would be possible to bend light around an object, making the object completely invisible. The United States saw this as an opportunity and provided Einstein with all the resources he needed to achieve it. According to the claim, Nikola Tesla was chosen to assist him in this experiment. Thus, these two mad scientists were perhaps going to make a miracle happen. To be able to bend light around an object with an energy flow fixed at certain angles. The United States was about to enter World War II and preparations were being made. Subtitle M. K wants to deliver aid by ships and protect them. But the Atlantic is like a hell for them. German U-boats, that is, submarines, were destroying almost 2 ships with their crews every day. Apart from these, the secret experiments conducted by the Germans became a great mystery, and the experiments they carried out were spread by word of mouth in many countries. After this news, the United States military forces also, that's the famous Area 51 that everyone is curious about. In that area, they started dozens of experiments in order to win the war. All of these experiments were called the Rainbow Project. The main purpose of the experiment, simply put, was to stay one step ahead of enemy countries. For example, in one of those experiments, they made ghost planes. At that time, thanks to these incredible planes that couldn't be detected by radar, they gained many advantages in the war. But according to the theory, they had conducted another unbelievable experiment with terrible consequences. The project was called the Philadelphia Experiment, a military experiment that is assumed to have taken place on October 28, 1943. In this experiment, it was considered to build ships that, just like ghost planes, could not be detected by the enemy. The United States Navy aimed to make its own naval ships undetectable by enemy radars during World War II. During World War II, they aimed to gain superiority on land and at sea. Moreover, the goal was not only invisibility, but also to teleport the ship from one place to another. But this would be an experiment much further from the technology in those ghost planes, and almost impossible. Actually, what drove them to do this was the claim that Einstein had conducted a teleportation experiment based on his unified field theory. Einstein continued these studies from 1925 onwards, conducted many works on this subject, and published his studies in a physics journal. We don't know if he was successful, but there is someone who thinks he was. A person who announced this experiment to the whole world, Maurice Jessup. A writer and researcher with a master's degree in astronomy who writes about UFOs. Jessup received 2 letters in 1950 from a retired sailor named Carlos Miguel. In the letter, Carlos writes that he saw a witness ship being teleported to another dimension, and also that Albert Einstein's research was used by the United States to teleport a military destroyer. All preparations for the experiment had been made, and it was expected to begin. According to the project, the ships would suddenly appear wherever desired without being detected by enemy radars, optical invisibility scientifically defined. The ship used in the experiment was the United States ship Eldridge, number DE-173, with a crew of 104. It was classified as a protection destroyer. According to an eyewitness, 2 generators with a power of 75 kWh were installed under the ship's forward gun turrets. From here, 4 magnetic beams would be emitted onto the ship's deck. These broken beams and radio waves would surround the ship, and as a result, the ship would become invisible to enemy observers. The destroyer, named United States ship Eldridge, was standing a little offshore in front of the Philadelphia Naval Base. and the experiment had begun. On June 22, 1943 at 9:00 anti-meridium, the generators were powered on. A magnetic field had started to form. Then a greenish mist covered the ship, and the United States ship Eldridge completely disappeared from sight.
For a moment, I could only see the ship's anchor, then it disappeared too. There was no longer you or the United States ship Eldridge there. We were looking at the empty sea. The high-ranking officers and scientists on our ship were watching this incredible achievement in fear, horror, and excitement, holding their breath. The ship and its crew had disappeared both from the radar and before our very eyes. Everything was going as planned. 15 minutes later, the order was given and the generators were switched off. At first, nothing happened, then it reappeared without any green, and the United States ship Eldridge began to become visible and reappear. The ship had somehow been teleported 397.679 miles away to the Norfolk Naval Base. It was brought back again after 15 minutes, but nothing was the same as before.
As the sound was fading, we felt that something was going wrong. We immediately approached the ship. We were shocked by what we saw. It was impossible for something like this to happen. Some of the crew had become stuck inside the ship's metal plates after the teleportation. It was an unbelievable sight. Some of them never returned. The experiment seemed to be successful. However, since it led to terrible consequences, the studies were terminated. According to the claim, there were very important names working on the experiment. We already mentioned one of them, Albert Einstein. The others were Dr. Johann Neumann and Dr. Nikola Tesla. These were really important names, and they had crazy ideas. The theory states that after the Philadelphia experiment went wrong, those involved denied responsibility and refused to continue working on it. About 12 years after the experiment, in 1955, Carlos Miguel sent a letter to Dr. Maurice Jessup. Here's where the interesting part begins. Jessup asks Carlos to send another letter to explain the incident in more detail. Then a second letter arrives. In the letter, Carlos wrote that to prove what he said, any method could be used on him, including hypnosis and all truth-telling drugs. 9 years had passed. In April 1959, Jessup called his doctor friend, Mason Valentini, told him that he had reached definite conclusions about the experiment, and asked to meet the next day. They were supposed to meet for dinner on the evening of April 20th, but this dinner never happened. On the night they were supposed to meet, Dr. Jessup was found dead in his car in a park in Miami. The police report stated he committed suicide in his car using exhaust fumes, and the mentioned notes were missing. This incident inevitably affected the credibility of the entire process. In an interview with Charles Berlitz after Dr. Joseph's death, Valentine said the following: "In my view, the Philadelphia experiment defies explanation by conventional means. Some scientists believe that the fundamental structure of the atom is formed not from matter particles, but from electromagnetic fields. This is the phenomenon of these very complex energy fields interacting with each other. Deliberately creating unusual magnetic conditions can change the phase of matter both physically and biologically. In this case, the time factor, which is not an independent entity but a part of a certain matter-time energy dimension similar to the life we are in, becomes distorted. In short, this experiment is possible." At this point, some questions may have come to your mind. For instance, why this experiment wasn't done with a smaller vessel. Of course, we're not sure it wasn't done, but those who wanted to teleport a ship might have done it with smaller objects and unmanned ships. This experiment that took place is the final stage, and since it was unsuccessful, it was shelved. Also, there could be many reasons why they didn't announce this failed experiment, which is said to have taken place to anyone, the trust of other countries in the United States, the explanations to be given to the families and surroundings of the deceased crew, and the political and military reputation of the United States as a result of military failure. No country can risk these consequences. But I must also say that apart from what a few witnesses said about this experiment, there is no other documentation. The Naval History Practice Archives branch said that there is no record of this event being confirmed or of the Navy achieving any success. Unfortunately, even after 80 years, what really happened is still not known. There are claims, but there is no evidence at all. A mysterious death and the detailed accounts about the incident are suspicious. Maybe one day the time will come for a file marked top secret to be opened, and the darkness will be illuminated. I am NYGMA. See you in another mystery.